Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when you finally get the lyrics wrong, much to the chagrin of Mike Lowrey and Marcus Burnett? We finally have a Bad Boys 3 after that long, extensive gap from like the second movie all the way to this one. I think it was a long dispute and there was production issues and there was people not getting this project off the ground, and I think they didn't know if Michael Bay wanted to come back or not. I really didn't look into the specifics behind why Bad Boys 3 took so long, but yet we finally have it, and it's being helmed by two different directors, and I don't know their name and I cannot pronounce their name. The only thing I will do is put their name on screen for you guys to figure this out. I'm going to split this review into two segments, the first one being spoiler free. We will not talk about anything that details specific plot points in the movie until we get to the spoiler section. The spoiler free section will have only stuff that we know about in the trailers and in the movies and general plot synopsis. If you don't want this movie spoiled to you, then please do not look past the spoiler free section. Thank you very much. As we always do, we got to figure out this dance of how to get people invested and talk about the movie without spoiling too much. It begins with like these two particular heroes, right? And you knew them since the last two movies, Mike Lowrey and Marcus Burnett. The big difference in this movie is that they tried to use time to say that they have indeed aged the characters. Mike Lowrey and Marcus Burnett aren't the young hot shots that they used to be, and this embodies the fact of the bad boys lifestyle changing, at least for Marcus. He doesn't want to do this stuff anymore. He wants to retire. He wants to live with his family. He has a grandchild now, as opposed to Mike. Mike still wants to live that lavish bad boys lifestyle. I don't give a fuck. I could do whatever I want. I could just go out and shoot this criminal in the middle of the streets and I won't have any repercussions at all. I'm a fucking bad boy. Let's go. He doesn't realize that his notions and living this lifestyle, they have consequences to them. Something affects both characters, which I'm not going to name, that changes the plot forever, and they really raised the personal stakes in this movie. They really were bold and daring to take a lot of risks here. That's what I really loved about Bad Boys for Life as opposed to 1 or 2. It doesn't feel like generic drug bust 101 for the Bad Boys formula. This feels a lot more interconnected with the characterization of the main leads, and I really enjoyed this. Will it be the most perfect thing in the theaters? No. Will it innovate? No. Will it be some changes that people will not appreciate? There will be those changes front and center. I warn you right now, front and center, there's going to be characterizations that you might have nitpicks with. Going forward, I'm glad they didn't keep things the same. You have to introduce a new coat of paint once you finally get to that third entry in the series. You certainly have to do your part as new directors, most likely, to make sure that everything doesn't feel like the same. Like I said, they don't fully alter the formula, they just toy with the idea of messing with some characters for better or for worse. I think the humor was mostly serviceable in my opinion. I didn't really find any big issues with the jokes that were presented. I thought they were pretty on point. They had to let Will and Martin ad-lib. It's no other way. They had to let them just go on, do their thing. What could they come up with? What could they do here? How will they interact? Let's just get this on camera. I don't even care if we're not supposed to be filming. That's the only way I could figure it would be as funny to this caliber as they made it, by putting these two in front of the camera and seeing what works and what doesn't. I do think there's one joke in particular in the hospital where I didn't laugh too much. Outside of that, I don't think anything really bothered me in a sense where I thought it was downright terrible. There's one scene in particular where someone has a head wound. You'll know it when you see it, and I just died laughing. I burst out laughing. My funny bone was shattered, dude. Granted, when I think of the apex of funny jokes for Bad Boys, nothing really beats the entire scene of Martin Lawrence being on ecstasy. I think that was absolutely the funniest things could be so far. It doesn't really reach those heights of like very extensive prolonged jokes. What it does though, it does well, and I can't really knock them. I have to give the directors and the screenwriters the benefit of the doubt for trying to at least put in something and incorporate things when humor is very subjective. This is a very subjective thing we're talking about here. I do really enjoy most of the humor in this movie. Same for the cinematography too. You have two new directors. They tried to shoot this movie. They really did. They tried to shoot this movie in the best way possible, like a Michael Bay movie. You got the pretty cars, you got the pretty shots, you have slow-mo shots that are absolutely jaw-dropping. The difference is that you can actually see these things moving around. You can see fights in motion. You can see when a bullet hits someone. You can see when someone gets punched. You can see when someone gets stabbed. And Michael Bay, he has that sort of really janky, really weird throughput of fast cuts and high octane action, and it does work to some extent. It was just annoying in the past with the shaky cam elements, and I'm glad to say that's not in Bad Boys for Life. This movie is well shot. I felt like all the action was tight, it was in frame, and that's really what matters. In a lot of action scenes, you're going to want to see what's going on. I did feel like some of the, and this is strange to say, this is really weird to say, because out of all my harping on Michael Bay, I do agree that this is true. I felt the visceral aspects of the action from the previous two Bad Boys was lacking in Bad Boys for Life. Don't get me wrong, I think those scenes are still good. My guess is that the directors really wanted to keep it clean, and that didn't migrate to full-scale visceral. You don't see people getting their faces shot off like Bad Boys 2. You don't see extreme amounts of gore. I think that the violence was paramount for something like the Bad Boys series. I gotta be honest, most of the shootouts in Bad Boys for Life, it really lacked that sort of visceral substance. But the fight scenes were incredible, I will say that. I won't say they held back in that, and the most shocking moments in Bad Boys for Life still stand out. I just wish that the shootouts were a little bit more violent, so to speak. There was one chase scene that was fucking fantastic. I think you've seen it in the trailers and everything. You definitely seen it in the trailers. I think it was the chase scene with them on a bike. That was excellently done. Good job to the directors. I'm sorry, I can't say your name. I think that's it for the spoiler-free segment of Bad Boys for Life. Now we're moving on to spoilers. I'm gonna give you midgets 5 seconds to exit stage left out of my classroom. Get out of here, Tiny Tim. Get out of here, Tiny Bob. You have no legs. Skedaddle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so I can finally get out of my spoiler-free bunker. You're cool with that, right? Finally, I can leave? Okay, let's get out of that. Let's talk about the things I didn't like in the movie first that I couldn't talk about, or the things that people may have a problem with. So, I guess we can start out by saying that Marcus is a pacifist now. He is someone that is a pretty religious man now. And there is some things with this plot element that some folks will not like. They will feel that Marcus isn't really violent enough, but he's trying to shy away from that. That's a story perspective, and I kind of liked it. Mike didn't change that much until the end, where there's like that sort of moment where he tries to resonate and connect with his son, which I'll talk about later. But you know, Marcus isn't, you know, he doesn't have that same passion as he did when he was in the previous Bad Boys movies. He felt like unhinged actually a little bit, if I'm not gonna lie, like when he called that big dude a Popeye's chicken eating motherfucker.
Damn, what do you win, 350? I bet you a big Popeye chicken eating motherfucker, ain't you?
Hey,
Get the fuck
I always got to get the big thick motherfuckers.
You don't see him like snap off at people like that. He seems pretty reserved now. Maybe that was the direction they were going with. You might see Martin like sort of scale back just a little bit, but he's still funny. He's like the heart and soul of the movie, and I think you would appreciate that, even if this is like Mike Lowry's, you know, Will Smith story with his son and his personal endeavors and the things he left in the past. So Mike Lowry, he does have a son now that we didn't know about. It doesn't feel as shoehorned in as something like Han being alive from Fast 9, even though he clearly died in like Tokyo Drift. It felt great. It felt like a great plot point, a great addition to know that he has this son that's been training all his life, and he went with some woman named the Witch, and he went like deep undercover, and this caused them to like sort of have this one connection. He mentions it too. He mentions it to Marcus. He has like this one woman he loved in the past that Marcus doesn't really know about, and he mentioned this like at the beginning, and then you're wondering like, huh, that's weird. Who could it be? Who could it be that there's this one woman who Mike the skirt chaser Lowry went after and fell in love with after having all these liaisons, and then you find out she was a dangerous bitch. Would you fuck a witch without a condom? That's the main question posed by Marcus, and only Mike Lowry has so far, so that's nice. That's nice to know that this dangerous situation is all due to Mike Lowry. His son comes into the fold. He is told by his mom, who escapes jail after she like shanks up this guard. Holy shit, the beginning is like brutal, dude. Like I said, the fight sequences are brutal, but the shootouts felt not visceral enough, you know what I mean? And then once you hear her escape, once she escapes and the news is like out there and everything, she then sends her son to eliminate all of these people that were involved with this sting operation that Mike Lowry was involved in, and his friends during that time, sometime in the past. It's like, I think they established that this happened way before Bad Boys 1. That's why it doesn't feel as bad. It's believable. You can believe that somehow this kid grew up. I think he also was told that his father was someone else that died, and that was due to Mike Lowry. That fueled his revenge as well. You have Mike Lowry, who is mad that he got shot by this guy Armando. He's trying to get revenge. He's still the same character that he used to be. And then you have Armando, who wants Mike Lowry dead and doesn't understand why his mother wants him to suffer after he was supposedly behind the death of his own father. Basically, you find out that the witch is also like triple crossing people as well. It's like a triple cross, quad cross, double cross, every cross. It's all over the fucking place. It's really fucking, it's crazy when you think about it, but it really is legitimate. Like, she wants revenge also because she was put into jail by Mike Lowry, and that was fair enough. I mean, she's gonna have that harbored hatred. She didn't tell Armando that Mike Lowry was really the father and the other guy, Benito, was sterile. He's actually going around trying to kill his own father without realizing that his fake father or whatever is in the ground, and they're not like biologically rooted together as well. So yeah, it's kind of weird that way. It feels really interconnected that way, but it also feels like it's been done before. We've seen revenge plots, and we also seen how the son sort of grows up the wrong way, and then his father finally comes back into the picture and things change for the better. This is what happens at the end, and we clearly see that this is establishing a new sort of Bad Boys 4. This is why, you know, you see those reports and you see like, oh, they want to do Bad Boys 4. Bad Boys 4 might be a go ahead because both of the main characters live and the son lives. Only the witch like really dies at the end. They do kill off Captain Howard, which I thought was shocking when I saw it. I saw Captain Howard get shot in the neck with a sniper rifle, and I'm like, what the fuck? Wow, they really were bold to kill off one of the most prominent members of the series, Joe Pantoliano. They were really bold enough to kill this well-established character, and I thought that took balls, man. I just wish that the reaction to his death was a little bit more solidified, a little bit more emotional. It just felt like he died, and then afterward you're like really sad, and then you see the funeral and everything, and that's supposed to be like really sad, and that makes like Marcus decide to come out of retirement to help Mike one last time. After those two scenes, they don't bring Howard up ever again, like ever. They don't reference him, they don't make phrases to him, like nothing is really brought up again with Captain Howard. I wish the weight of his death had more meaning and clouded the judgment of the other two characters a little bit more than usual. However, I know they had to press on with the plot. They couldn't linger on this for too long. That's just a little bit of a nitpick of mine. One last time isn't it though. This is not going to be the last Bad Boys movie by a long shot. I honestly feel like it's going to be Armando putting his assassination skills to the test, since Mike said, you know, you're coming with me. We can sort of like shorten down that sentence, and that's going to be Bad Boys 4, where it's going to be Bad Boys and the new generation. Also Ammo was introduced into Bad Boys for Life, and they're sort of like the new guys. They are like you have the very buff techie who's funny, you have the asshole stereotypical Chinese guy that's like a jock. You also have Captain Rita, and she has some previous history with Mike. She sort of brings that fiery chemistry to the table for that character to ground him. And then we have the black chick that we really don't know anything about because she barely talks in the movie, so that's Ammo. Ammo has like a useless character that doesn't talk, and then you have the stereotypical Chinese Asian guy who's an asshole. And I think out of those two characters, the other two were great, the techie and Captain Rita. The other two were were like, whatever. This guy says, you know, are you gonna fuck my mother later, jokes later when he gets like close to Mike. So it's just super weird. And I only cared about one half of Ammo. That's it. I didn't care about the full set of the team. I think they would have been stronger characters if those other two characters were fleshed out. If they die at the end during the whole big giant helicopter fight that was going on during the final sequence, it's like a giant rotating stairway and you see the chopper crash through. If those two characters died, the Asian guy and the black chick, I would be totally fine with it because I thought they were useless. I'm sorry I don't remember their names. I'm sorry I'm like stereotyping them right now. I just am going off memory as to how I remember those characters, and those other two were not memorable compared to the Techie and Captain Rita. Maybe Ammo could be fleshed out going forward into Bad Boys 4. You see that Mike and Martin are now like the captains. I keep saying Martin. I don't know why I get their real names mixed up like that. It's Mike and Marcus. You see they are the captains now of Ammo, supposedly. Then I guess maybe they could mentor this new brigade while mixing the new and the old. It does remind me a little bit of Lethal Weapon 4 with the direction they're going. You see like the older characters there, and you also see the newer ones like Chris Rock and everything. So it's like maybe that's what they're gonna go for with Bad Boys 4. And also they have Armando as well. Armando's gonna have a face turn now. That's going to be pretty cool to see. I think it's just when it boils down to this movie in particular, let's not talk about Bad Boys 4, the villains really sell it for me. Like in the original, you see that the villain was some French guy that you really didn't care for. In the second one, it's also like that weird crazy guy that had like the long hair and he looked like really weird and disheveled, and he shot that guy in the head. He's like, you dishonor my family and my mother, and then he shoots him in the head. He shoots his own guy in the head. They weren't engaging as villains. It felt very by the numbers with those two. This one, Armando and the witch, they feel like very, very hardcore threats. They're out to shoot Mike Lowry, which they succeed at. They're out to kill his friends, which they succeed at during this whole old school bus that you find out over the course of the movie. And then you see Marcus in trouble. You see Mike in trouble. You see scenes where they could actually die even more. I know this was prominent in the originals, but this also happens here, and it feels like it has greater effect when you find out the connection of these characters and how you want this to play out. You obviously want Mike to win. You don't want him to kill his son, so there's some morality struggles there too. When Mike is sitting on the plane and he's like very much solidified with his opinions to Marcus that he's going to put his own son in the ground, he's going to put him in a fucking body bag. Marcus then like thinks to himself, yeah, he's a bad guy, but he's also your son, and that must be a very heavy burden to do something like that, to kill your own family member. They bring that up. Like I said, it's cliche, but it works for this movie. It really homes in and solidifies, and it really works for Bad Boys for Life. I just think that was awesome. The two main villains in this, Armando and his mom, they were cool personal villains that really worked and raised the stakes, and you see people die around the main two characters that were really important to them. You see these people hurt, you see these people in mourning, and that's really what sold the plot for me. I did say, I did think that this film felt a little too clean, especially in those tense shootouts. I felt they needed a little bit more, but there still is those cool action scenes. Some of the CGI for the faces and the flame effects, when you really look at them, it is laughably bad at its finest. You see that like at the end portion of the movie. Again, I just love the fact that Marcus was like on the, I think my favorite scene is when he's on the sort of it's like a motorbike thing. I can't really describe what it is. It's like a passenger seat, and he has the big gun, and he's unsure whether to shoot at the enemies, and he's getting that pep talk from Will Smith. He's saying, this is a God-fearing weapon. God made you to use this fucking M16. You're going to use it. You're going to be a weapon of the Lord, and you're going to like it. And then he gets all hyped up, and then he starts shooting at the criminals, and then you're like, man, that is the best way they could have broken and the pacifist angle that people may not like in this movie with Martin Lawrence's character. I like I said, I really had a lot of fun with this one. If you're looking to go in and have a good time, you may like it. If you're looking for something deep, something to a deeper level, deeper meaning, deeper purpose, maybe wait until Tenet comes out from Christopher Nolan. I saw the trailer to Tenet and I'm just floored. I think that movie is going to be very cool. I think it's going to be awesome. Just wait until Tenet. Bad Boys for Life might not be for you, but if you're a Bad Boys fan, I think you might be thoroughly impressed with this movie. Easy to follow, easy to understand, very good standalone movie. Outside of like a few key characters and references, also Reggie comes back from Bad Boys 2. You see him, the guy they roasted, and say, you know what, I ain't going back to jail, I ain't going back. And he pulls a gun. You see Lowry pull a gun, and he's like, holy shit, this dude is fucking insane. He's like, Mike and Marcus, they're both like fucking crazy. Should I really be taking Megan out? I guess the joke is on them because Reggie actually marries Megan and he has a kid with her. So go figure. It's like he's the one who got the last laugh at the end against these two crazy assholes that were like about to shoot him and shit, and they were just joking at the door and shit. And it's like, oh man, that's kind of cool. He came back. I just wish that maybe he could have done something. He looks like he's a Marine now. That's kind of crazy. Maybe they could put Reggie in the scene where he's like clapping at people and shooting at them in Bad Boys 4. I just imagine that. And then you had like DJ Khaled in the movie as well. He gets like body. I think Mike breaks all his fingers and shit. He's like, man, I'll tell you where he is, man. You broke my fucking fingers, man. Oh, I didn't mean to get that pig fat on your suit. I'm sorry. It's like kind of funny with that scene that he is in the butcher shop and Mike is trying to extract information and find out who shot him. Essentially what it is when Mike comes back from the dead after being shot by this assassin, he wants him bad, and that revenge angle could basically destroy a person's life, and you see the people getting hurt around Mike, and you know that this is his son later on in the plot. Can he kill his son? Can he do it? And then you see he just gives up at the end. He says, you know what, I'm done. I'm trying to penetrate your soul with my heart, as Martin and Will Smith, they say in the movie. That's a prominent little joke when they try to be the pacifist in a situation, and you see Mike Lowry sort of embody that as well, and he changes at the end, I think, to be a little bit more open, to be a little bit more conscious, to care about more than just himself. And I think that is a great message overall. Bad Boys for Life, man, I thought it was fantastic. This just proves that Michael Bay, he could be replaced easily. If you decided to take his baby away from him, 6 Underground, and make like a 7 Underground, I bet you in the hands of the right director, it would be fucking fire. It would be fire. They already made a pretty badass Transformers like Bumblebee spinoff, and they already made like a badass Bad Boys movie without Michael Bay. So I think it proves that in the right hands, you can do something great with a Michael Bay property. I really love this movie. A lot of people made fun about Martin's weight in this movie, and I mean people, he even makes fun of it himself in the movie, like he got a little bit bigger. I mean, he's not the same as he used to be. Just let it go. I mean, Martin has changed, and I think we shouldn't be fat shaming him. I think he was great no matter what you say. So he was pretty good in this movie, even though he's more of a pacifist this time around. I think it worked for the context that was given, and it just added some funny layers to the story, even though I think previous Bad Boys like fans, they probably won't like that stuff because they feel Martin should be a little bit more edgy and out with it. And I can understand that criticism, no problem. I can understand that opinion at least. I still loved it. It's not the best movie ever made, but it's still good enough for a Bad Boys movie, and that's what I was expecting. Some good popcorn fun, some good jokes, and some great chemistry with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. I almost thought they were about to murk your boy Marty Marr. I thought he was about to die at the end, like he was getting sliced up by the witch and shit. I was like, oh shit, he needs to do a nigga moment on this bitch. He needs to like punch her lights out some more. He needs to get in that ass. I mean, he punched her out, but still, he needs to like do an MMA mount and just pop the living shit out of her, like punch her 3 more times until she's dead, fam. It's like she was slicing that dude up for real, like a fucking veal cutlet, man. It was crazy. I can see why people had no hope for this movie because it was sent out in the the middle of January, and this is where movies go out to die. This is where studios are not confident in films like this. They go out to die. They're not like Hollywood blockbusters that you would see sometime in the summer. My only gripe towards the directors, I wouldn't say gripe, just a constructive form of criticism, is that I hope they don't take the ball and run with it. I hope they don't get lazy. Now they have to do Beverly Hills Cop 4 and they have to do Bad Boys 4. I hope they do not get complacent and fuck everything up. I hope they do the best job that they can on these sequels and we get good quality out of both of these projects. Anyone can see success and run it into the ground at any time. That's my Bad Boys for Life review. Definitely some nitpicks, definitely some criticisms, but overall, I knew what the movie was. I knew what the series was about. I went in there expecting the same premises, and I was not disappointed. I was thoroughly amused the whole time. Bad Boys for Life, tell me, what did you guys think in the comment section about this movie? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you planning to see it? Sound off, let me know. And once again, I am Renegade Operative signing out. Please be sure to check out my description below of my social media, all my social media accounts. Follow me there. Let's talk it up. Let's talk in the comment section. Be sure to like the video if you liked it. A like is free. This helps me out in the YouTube algorithm. The YouTube algorithm is so bad, I don't even want to get into it. Please be sure to subscribe. Once again, thank you guys so much for checking out this review. Hopefully you liked the movie, and once again, take care. I hope you guys have a good day, and as always, I'll see you guys next time. Later.